Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to our worship service here at Central Unitarian Church. I'm John Freund. I've been a member here for 19 years and started attending just a few months before that. I've been happy to find a spiritual home where theology is a personal thing, yet celebrated together in covenant, in a spirit of plurality, it's hard to say sometimes, and focusing on what we can do together. I've been involved in many aspects of this community. I'm happy to once again be lending my energy to Worship Association. CUC is an inclusive community of all ages that embraces diversity in identity, expression, and spiritual belief. We gather together each Sunday in worship to find inspiration, hope, and renewal among this community of like-hearted individuals. If you are visiting us in person, please be sure to say hello to one of our welcome hosts. Welcome hosts in the back. There's Elizabeth. Okay. If you are visiting online, hi there. If you are visiting online, please be sure to click the link provided in the chat and sign our guest book by providing us with your name and contact information. Of course, we invite you to stay after service for coffee, conversation, and connection in this same space. And as we prepare to begin our service this morning, we ask those of us in person who have electronic devices to put them in la mode, please, so we are not disturbed. Some announcements. The Pastoral Care Team will host a special Valentine's pizza lunch at noon this coming Sunday, February 5th, this coming Wednesday, February 5th, at the clubhouse on Wednesday. Will there be heart-shaped pizza? No? The Design Team has an announcement for the congregation. May I bring up Brooke Kanata?
Thank you, John, and good morning, everyone. I have big news. We're starting construction tomorrow. So this will be phase one, which is all the exterior stuff. So we're going to look, in a couple of months, we're going to look real pretty on the outside, then we start on the inside. So if y'all have any questions afterwards, please feel free to let me know.
The Kraft family is hosting coffee hour this month. That's right, this month. Thank you, of course. Kai and Kraft will share details of Clara's food drive. Kai, you can come up now.
Good morning. Good morning. Clara could not be here this morning to share the beginnings of her food drive, so I'm just up here to share a little message with all of you that she wrote. Hello, my name is Clara Kraft, and I am trying to help my community. I am an RE student, and I have OWL class today. Because I couldn't make it, my brothers are going to read a little explanation about me and why I'm hosting the CUC February food drive. I'm a 13-year-old girl who lives in a warm house with food and clothes, but not every child and adult lives with as much comfort as I have. I try to think of what it might feel like to not have so much and to be worried about what tomorrow will bring. So, we are going to support an organization that helps those children and adults in need. We are raising money and collecting food for the Center for Food Action. The mission of the Center for Food Action is to prevent hunger and homelessness and to improve the lives of individuals and families living in poverty. The Center for Food Action has 6 locations in Bergen County: Mahwah, Hackensack, Ringwood, Saddlebrook, Englewood, and Bergen Community College. The Center for Food Action has been working to prevent homelessness and hunger for 48 years. They have worked hard at becoming a strong organization that really makes an impact on real people struggling. The CFA does this through 6 main programs. The Emergency Food Program, which is designed to give direct donations of essential food items once every 3 weeks to 1,000 households each month. The Homelessness Prevention Program, which provides financial assistance and guidance to low-income households. The Weekend Snack Pack Program, which helps children at risk of hunger by working with school lunch programs to fill weekend gaps where children aren't in school. The Garden Program, which works with master gardeners and volunteers to grow fresh organic fruits and vegetables for families they serve in the pantry garden. The Smile Pack Program, which encourages young clients to exercise proper dental hygiene. And Hunger Free New Jersey, which is an overall initiative for educating the public and decision makers about hunger, its causes, and its solutions. One new thing that the Center for Food Action has started to do at the Mahwah location is called Choice Pantry as part of its emergency food program. This allows people to have a shopping experience in a pantry rather than be handed a box of essential items. This gives people a choice and a feeling of dignity with that. I care very much about making an impact and helping others. I hope that you do too. This is why I'd like to continue the goal of having great results for this drive. Me and my family have been helping with this food drive for 4 years, and each year we try to beat our last goal. In 2024, we raised $1,320 and collected 11 bags of food. If you're able to help, please try and remember to donate. We'll be hosting coffee hours this month and have sent out an email with details on how to contribute, which we will be sending out again soon. Thank you very much.
John, can I just say one thing? Piggybacking onto that, I would like to say that they did mention something about dental health for children, and most of us, hopefully, go to the dentist once every 6 months or once a year, and we get these packages of things that most of us don't really need. Toothpaste, toothbrushes, dental floss, and if you bring those in, you can put them in the food donation box because they desperately need them. They're tickle pink to get them. The other thing is, a lot of us travel, and when we travel, we stay in hotels, and we get these stupid little amenity bottles of stuff that we don't use, that they replenish every day if you take. So please, if you're traveling, collect all of those little things and bring them in and donate them to the food drives, because they are very, very, very happy to get them. Thank you.
Just to summarize, if you couldn't hear that online, if you have sample size toothpaste, travel size toothpaste, toothbrushes, all that kind of stuff, that can be donated to the food drive as well. And also, we actually have a special guest here today. We have the Executive Director of Family Promise of Bergen County, Kate Duggan. I'd like her to come up to share some information with us about a program.
Good morning. It's always nice to come here and see friendly faces. But you know what? If these were normal times, I'd be up here talking about how Family Promise helps working families who are facing homelessness and how we shelter them in hotels. If this was a normal time, we would talk about how we meet families where they are, but we just don't leave them there. If these were normal times, I'd talk about our expanded programs, that we not only shelter families in hotels and have transitional apartments, but we also do homeless prevention and shelter diversion so that we can either keep people in their homes or get them back into housing quickly. If these were normal times, I'd talk about camp, and thank you again for the many years that you hosted camp for homeless children in Paramus. I'd talk about our walk-in dinner program that serves up to 330 meals every single night of the year. I'd talk about how Family Promise, like this congregation, are a little nomadic right now. We're in the process of buying a building in Emerson and are having some conversations with the town that are, I wish were going a little more smoothly. I'd also mention that we are having a raffle, and there's information in the back. But these aren't normal times, and that's why I just want to talk very, very briefly and forgive me if I'm not as fluent as I sometimes am when I talk about homelessness, because things are changing so quickly that it's hard to keep up with what's going on. But certainly the what's going on in the immigration community right now is affecting the families that we serve and affecting all families. The families that we serve, and by extension, the families that they know, are scared right now. They're unsure of what's going on. They're unsure of their position in the community. And it's getting closer and closer. I was on a call with the mayor of Englewood the other day, and he mentioned that he got a call from a reporter who wanted a comment about a raid he heard about at Baltazar's Bakery. So that's right there in Englewood. Some of the families in our program know families that are no longer sending their children to school because they're afraid to do so. We have, for all the families in our program, and I encourage you, if you know anyone of questionable immigration status, to fill out a family preparedness plan. So if, God forbid, something happens to one of the parents, if they're swept up in a raid, there is a plan for what will happen to their children. Also, we are handing out at all of our programs something called red cards. I made copies of Spanish version. They are not red. I apologize for that. But you can go online, just Google red cards, and they will give you, in multiple languages, the wording for you to print out cards that give information about what people's rights are if they're approached by ICE. You have the right not to speak to them. You have the right not to open your door if they come to your door. And this is information I think as a caring community we need to share with all our brothers and sisters. And I just implore you to be kind to everyone right now. It is a very tense time. No one should have to prove that they belong by providing paperwork. I have a Colombian social worker. She's been in this country for over 25 years. She is documented, but she even said, if I'm approached by ICE, how do I prove that I belong? So that's my message today. Thank you for having me. I always love coming here.
Thank you, Kate. And now, let us formally begin our gathering by doing something actually pretty informal. Please turn to a person near you and offer them a warm welcome.
Good morning.
Your turn.
Yeah, I'm Ben. I'm a member, but haven't run for a while.
Okay, good morning, congregation.
Good morning.
Our opening words are by the contemporary South African poet Mzwakhe Mbuli. Now is the time to climb up the mountain and reason against habit. Now is the time. Now is the time to renew the barren soil of nature, ruined by the winds of tyranny. Now is the time. Now is the time to commence the litany of hope. Now is the time. Now is the time to give me roses, not to keep them for my grave to come. Give them to me while my heart beats. Give them today while my heart yearns for jubilee. Now is the time. And now I invite those who are gathered here in person to stand in body or in spirit to sing our opening hymn. It's number 55, Dark of Winter.
Surround
As we light our chalice this morning, please join me in saying our chalice lighting words, which are projected on the screen. I think we lost the TV. Okay.
Netflix? CNN?
Take two. Please join me in saying our chalice lighting words. We light this chalice to remind us of our dreams, to nourish our heart, mind, and spirit, to work towards a better world for all, to embrace the whole of our human experience, to honor our past and the gifts of the present, to create a community where each of us may find healing, transformation, and hope. We are a nation that was built on celebrating and protecting individual liberty, yet we are not alone. Our lives are built on shared commitments, giving and receiving together. Our congregation serves as a place where we intentionally practice this shared living. Interdependence in a culture that overemphasizes independence. And one of the ways that we practice our interdependence is through our congregation's finances, which depend on the generous contributions of members and friends. We pause each week to recognize this particular form of sharing, each of us giving what we can to support the mission and vision of Central Unitarian Church. Your financial contribution helps each and every one of us to grow, to serve, to live lives centered on love, and most importantly, to share that love. In this spirit, our offering will now be gratefully received. Please join me in reciting our dedication words based on the CUC's mission statement. We dedicate these gifts in service of our mission to welcome all into a home of spiritual diversity that challenges us to become our best selves, to minister to one another in love, and to serve the greater community.
We now pause to take a moment to share our joys and sorrows. We do this each week as a way of caring for one another. We invite you to share the joys and sorrows you hold in your heart today. If you're online, you may do so by entering that information in the chat box. Those of you who are here in person may have already lit a candle and submitted a joy or sorrow, which I will read shortly. We will also offer a moment for those here to share out loud the names of those you are holding in your heart today. So let us quiet ourselves in order to enter that holy space of listening and of breathing in a breath of life and breathing out a breath of peace. We hold these cares, joys, and concerns in our hearts, as well as the ones that remain unspoken. And now, will you please join me in a moment of meditation? While sitting down where you are, be aware of your feet grounded on the floor. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, scanning your entire body up and down, from your toes to the top of your head, then back down again while breathing out. As you inhale and exhale, breathe deep into your chest so your belly fills with the air. When exhaling, control the air as it leaves your lungs. At this time, make breathing in and out your only responsibility. Listen to your breath as it goes in and out of your nose. Feel it as it fills your lungs. Control it as your lungs empty. Do this for 1 minute. At the end of that portion of the meditation, I will continue with the text of today's spoken meditation, after which we will continue with another moment of silent meditation. When the wind blows, that is my medicine. When it rains, that is my medicine. When it hails, that is my medicine. When it becomes clear after a storm, that is my medicine. And that concludes this moment for meditation. I now invite those who are gathered here in person to stand in body or spirit to sing hymn number 107, Now We Sing of the Brave of Old.
The reading today comes from the second chapter of the book of Exodus. When Moses had grown up, he went out to visit his people, the Hebrews, and he saw how they were forced to do hard labor. He even saw an Egyptian kill a Hebrew, one of Moses' own people. Moses looked all around, and when he saw that no one was watching, he killed the Egyptian and hid his body in the sand. The next day he went back, and he saw two Hebrew men fighting, and he said to one who was in the wrong, "Why are you beating up your fellow Hebrew?" The man answered, "Who are you? Who made you our ruler and judge? Are you going to kill me, just as you killed that Egyptian?" Then Moses was afraid and said to himself, "People have found out what I've done." When the king heard about what had happened, he tried to have Moses killed. But Moses fled and went to live in the land of Midian.
One of the most startling and fascinating news stories from 2024 was the murder of 50-year-old United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson on December 4th in Midtown Manhattan by a masked gunman. At the time, for the next few days, the public was intrigued by this unlikely scenario. While the topic of urban crime has been a hot topic for the past few years, from the very beginning, this crime seemed different from all of the other crime stories and crime statistics that we're used to hearing or reading about. This didn't appear to be a random shooting, but neither did it seem likely that the perpetrator and victim knew each other. While speculation rose, within a week the suspect was caught, and we were all introduced to Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old Maryland native and graduate of the University of Pennsylvania. The public seemed caught off guard upon being introduced to Luigi, mostly because of his handsome face, his healthy head of curly hair, his toned body, his academic achievements, and his wholesome background. Luigi quickly went from America's most wanted to America's handsome hero. The clothes that he wore quickly became popular and sold out at retailers. And in many cities, there have been Luigi look-alike contests. Creative artisans have started creating merchandise with his image on it too. Maybe you've seen the votive candles with his image on the front, the one where he looks like the Sacred Heart of Jesus, in which Luigi has a golden halo behind his head and is wearing a white and green robe with one hand stretched out in blessing and the other pointing to his Sacred Heart. And underneath it says, Saint Luigi Mangione, the patron saint of healthcare justice, protect us from corruption. Shortly after his arrest in Pennsylvania, reporters published the text of a handwritten manifesto Luigi had written in which he explained why he did what he did. He wrote, quote, I do apologize for any strife or traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United is the largest company in the U.S. by market capital, behind only Apple, Google, and Walmart. It has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No, the reality is these companies have simply gotten too powerful and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty, end quote. It soon became clear both on and offline that many people had a positive reaction to Luigi, not just because he was physically attractive, but also because his views on the health insurance industry resonated with so many Americans who have had too many negative experiences with high costs, frequent denials of care, and poor or limited coverage. In the weeks after Luigi's arrest, I came across a fascinating series of posts on social media, which I'll share with you. Some are serious, some are funny, some are questionable, but I'll let you decide what you think. One person wrote, "This was a passionate individual with a violent reaction to a morbid situation. The world we build is based on profit rather than what's better for humanity. But murder isn't the answer." Another person wrote, "If school shootings are inevitable in America, then so are CEO shootings. Thoughts and prayers." Another person wrote, "Luigi has done what no president has done in decades. He has united hardworking Republicans and Democrats." Another person wrote, "Free this man, Luigi Mangione. He's a hero. We need more vigilantes who stand up to corrupt, evil elites." Another person wrote, "America is so back. Italians are doing murder in New York again." Another person said, "It would be truly wild if after this America did nothing to improve its healthcare system, but did become racist against Italians again." Another person wrote, "This is the best thing Italians have done since wood oven pizzas." Another person wrote, "They arrested a guy who killed one CEO, but haven't arrested Netanyahu, who is actively committing genocide." And finally, one extended post read, "All these comments and even the professional analysis want to point to mental illness or a psychotic break. Others say murder is always wrong. We have laws. It's funny how the press and some commenters ignore the rapacious greed of health insurers, where men like Mr. Thompson earn huge salaries and bonuses by literally hurting, sometimes killing thousands, even millions. Or consider that a slim majority of citizens, those who even bothered to vote, just re-elected a convicted felon and rapist who attempted to overturn our election by violent force less than 4 years ago. When our leaders, both political and corporate, get away with committing felonies, sometimes with audio and video evidence we've all seen, and face zero repercussions, the law becomes dead. Why should the law only apply to little people? Perhaps Mr. Mangione had been thinking about these salient facts when he decided to act. Whatever your own view on Luigi Mangione is, whether you consider him a hero or a terrorist, a champion or a villain, what I find interesting is how Americans have reacted to him and his actions. On the one hand, many journalists and thinkers have expressed their concern and bewilderment at how quickly Luigi became a type of folk hero. For example, a senior advisor at the Network Contagion Research Institute, which researches ideologically motivated violence, said that he was concerned by the lionization of Thompson's murder, and, quote, "What's disturbing about this is that it's mainstream. It's being framed as some opening blow in a broader class war, which is very concerning as it heightens the threat environment for similar actors to engage in similar acts of violence." End quote. A news journalist and editor shared that, quote, "Mangione keeps getting called a folk hero. I understand it, but assassinations perpetuate a culture of violence and fear. Why are so many people still talking about this shooting as if it's justifiable, which folk hero seems to imply? I've been struck by how many people are projecting their individual what these guys mean to me opinions onto what is, in fact, a cold-blooded assassination," end quote. What strikes me as particularly intriguing amid the cultural critique of Luigi Mangione's rise as a folk hero is the surprise many express at his widespread resonance. After all, who among us has not felt the weight of uncertainty about accessing necessary medical care, a fear which is foreign to citizens in many other countries? Luigi's rallying cry, "Deny, defend, and depose," cuts to the heart of a deeply familiar frustration, one felt by countless Americans who struggle against a system that fails to provide them with the care that they need. While Luigi is a recently identified folk hero, it's worth noting that he certainly is not the first, and both our sacred traditions and national traditions contain the improbable stories of people who did things which would normally be considered villainous or wicked, but who end up becoming heroes or role models instead. Today's reading from the book of Exodus is an example of this. Moses is considered one of the most important figures in Judaism and Christianity, a man who, according to the text, led his people out of bondage and into the promised land. A man who is said to have seen God and who spoke to God. A man who gave us what is now known as the Mosaic Law, the most well-known portion of which we now call the Ten Commandments. One of those commandments says, "Do not commit murder." And yet, in the second chapter of Exodus, we learn about how Moses was inspired by his sense of justice and how he committed murder by killing an abusive Egyptian taskmaster. In addition to Moses, consider a few more folk hero figures from both our sacred and national traditions. For example, David, a young shepherd from Bethlehem chosen by the prophet Samuel, who, armed only with a sling and stones, defeated the giant Goliath. His victory demonstrated his faith and established him as a divinely chosen leader, a story we still use to illustrate how an underdog can triumph against a powerful adversary. Consider the figure of Judith, a legendary figure known for her courage during a siege. Facing the Assyrian army led by General Holofernes, Judith infiltrated the enemy camp, gained Holofernes' trust, and ultimately decapitated him while he was drunk. Her bold act demoralized the Assyrian forces and saved her people, immortalizing her as a symbol of resilience and leadership. Consider the figures of what are known as narco-saints. Narco-saints are figures from folk Catholicism who are venerated by criminal groups like money launderers, smugglers, and drug traffickers, especially in the United States and Latin America. Their worship involves practices that the official Catholic Church condemns, yet they hold significant cultural and religious meaning for those communities. One notable example is someone named Jesus Malverde, known as the narco saint of Mexico, a bandit turned hero who, like Robin Hood, stole from the rich to help the poor. Despite limited historical evidence about his life, shrines dedicated to Malverde exist throughout Mexico. Consider the figure of Billy the Kid, a notorious 19th century outlaw and gunfighter from the American West, though he was born in New York City. Although Billy the Kid killed many, both in self-defense and in violent clashes with law enforcement, he was romanticized as a rebellious figure fighting against authority, with some viewing him as a victim of a corrupt system rather than a ruthless killer. Consider the figure of John Brown, a white abolitionist who believed violence was necessary to end slavery. His famous 1859 raid on the Federal Armory at Harper's Ferry intended to spark a slave revolt. It may have failed, but his actions and subsequent martyrdom turned him into a folk hero among abolitionists. His commitment to armed resistance for freedom cemented his historical legacy. Consider, too, Nat Turner. Nat Turner was an enslaved African American who led a violent 1831 rebellion in Southampton County, Virginia, driven by his mystical visions and a strong sense of justice. Though his uprising, resulting in the deaths of around 60 white people, was brutally suppressed and he was executed, Turner emerged as a folk hero in the abolitionist movement, symbolizing resistance to slavery's brutality. While pro-slavery supporters saw him as a criminal, many viewed Turner as both a martyr and a symbol of liberation. When all is said and done, as a faith community, we know and recognize that murder is immoral and that using homicide to achieve justice is not the higher path that we are called to. As citizens of this country and of the world, we also know that violence only begets more violence, leading to chaos, destruction, political dysfunction, and horror. We've seen that in the cases of the assassinations of figures like Abraham Lincoln, James Garfield, William McKinley, John F. Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, John Lennon, and Harvey Milk. At the same time, as we reflect on folk hero-type figures like Luigi Mangione, we are confronted with the deep frustrations many feel when traditional systems of creating social change and justice fail to bring about meaningful change. We recognize the underlying sense of helplessness that drives such actions, born of a society that often neglects its most vulnerable and which somehow can never find enough money to properly fund an equitable healthcare system for all, even though a recent poll showed that 62% of Americans believe our government should ensure universal access to affordable healthcare. Though conventional efforts to create change are slow and seemingly ineffective, We, as Unitarian Universalists, are called to persist in the difficult work of building a world grounded in our values of justice, equity, and compassion. As we continue to commit ourselves to this higher purpose, may we know that lasting transformation comes from the steady and often invisible work of healing, activism, and solidarity, in which we look forward to creating a beloved community where every person has the right to a standard of living adequate for one's health and well-being, including, of course, affordable medical care for all.
As we extinguish our chalice, please join me in saying our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish this chalice flame, but not our promise to each other, to act with grace, to hold each other in love, to serve this community and our world. This promise of the heart serves as a reminder of how we live together. May it bring joy to our collective lives. Please stand in body or spirit and let us sing together hymn number 121, We'll Build the Land. Now, note that we're using the lyrics on the screen. There are alternative lyrics in there. Come build a land where all of our siblings.
Our closing words are by the retired UU minister Mark L. Bellatini. Go in peace. Live simply, gently, at home in yourselves. Act justly. Speak justly. Remember the depth of your own compassion. Forget not your power in the days of your powerlessness. Do not desire to be wealthier than your peers, and stint not the hand of charity. Practice forbearance. Speak the truth or speak not. Take care of yourselves as bodies, for you are a good gift. Crave peace for all people in the world, beginning with yourselves, and go as you go with the dream of that peace alive in your heart. And that concludes our service.
Good morning.